Hi there, this is Stokely with 3 Years of Wrestling, bringing you the Wrestling Time post show. And for tonight, I'm reviewing AEW Dynamite. So let's kick this review off talking about the opening contest. It was an 8-man tag match. It was Swerve and Our Glory and the Guns versus FTR and the Acclaimed. So no longer do we have the Gun Club, we have the Guns, which I thought was really interesting that they changed their names to that, which I can't blame them. I mean, they lost their dad to the Acclaim, so it makes sense that they're no longer a club. They're just the Guns. All right. So before this match even started, like, Billy Gunn ran to the ring. Right? He ran to the ring, and like he had to get taken to the back so this match can officially start. Wow, I really like when Dax caught Austin Gunn with the catapult into the corner followed by an atomic drop. I thought that was really, really cool. I really like the two spots with, you have 4 right hands. You have, I think, Max Caster. You have like Max Caster. You have Bowen. You have Dax to Colton, you have Bowens to Swerve Strickland, you have Cash to Austin, and Caster to Lee. So they're all giving 4 right hands, which I thought was really cool. And then like W Morrissey gave a big boot to Dax to allow them to take the lead or take advantage in this situation. I talk about using your opponent's finisher. The Guns used the big rig on Anthony Bowens. You know, the Guns they're after those tag titles and FTR. I mean, think about it this way. Like, they dress up as FTR once. So it seems like the Guns are going to be the next to get a shot at the tag titles. But, you know, ever since they got rid of the ranking system, I don't think the ranking system matters anymore. Okay. So another shot that I liked was when each team went to their respective corners and then they all went at it, which I thought was really cool. So one thing to note was that Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland were actually working really well together, and they took out Anthony Bowens. And then you had this one spot where Swerve Strickland took out everybody. I also like when Dax suplexed Colton into everybody. Austin telling Dax to suck it, which I thought was funny. That sharpshooter to Austin by Dax was pretty cool. And then the mic drop followed by the big rig. So I know FTR and the Acclaim won this match, which is actually a really good match to open Dynamite with. I actually really liked it. I enjoyed it. But, you know, that match at Full Gear, it's going to be the Acclaim versus Swerve and Our Glory. And I honestly think that Swerve and Our Glory is going to break up at Full Gear. They're breaking up at Full Gear. All right. So we have an MJF promo. He's not there. He's like at a like on a radio show. And he says that he was advised not to travel on the road by doctors, which is why he's not at Dynamite. And that he's only worried about his match against Jon Moxley. He starts talking about how this match is important to the history of pro wrestling. He starts talking about how it's the potential crowning of the next face of the next generation in pro wrestling. He goes on to name people like Bruno Sammartino, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, and John Cena. He says all these men were generational talents, and that's exactly who MJF is. Now, I kind of noticed a snub here. He didn't mention Roman Reigns. So I found that pretty interesting. So does he not think Roman Reigns is a generational talent? Technically, Roman is the guy in WWE, so I found that interesting. He totally just did not mention Roman Reigns at all. So he also brings up points how it's not going to be easy to beat Jon Moxley, and that MJF interview was good. Yeah, it really was. I liked it. He says he respects Jon, but Jon wasn't born to be a world champion. He says he respects Jon because he had to work his ass off to become the man that he is today. He blood, sweat, and tears, sacrifices, and he did it over and over again, driving 15 minutes to earn $15, or driving 15 hours to earn $15. So MJF talks about how he is the guy that can do movies, talk shows, commercials, and TV shows while waving the AEW flag. So I do think that MJF has that potential. And actually, if you guys didn't know, MJF was actually got his first role. He lands a role in Zac Efron's wrestling biopic. So he's making his acting debut in The Iron Claw, as announced by Deadline. He's been cast in The Iron Claw's A24's biopic on the Von Erich wrestling family. So Zac Efron leads the cast as Kevin Von Erich, Jeremy Allen White, and Harrison Dickinson playing his brothers Kerry and David. But yet it says that MJF has been cast. It doesn't say, let me see. It doesn't say who MJF has. Oh, no. MJF will play Lance Von Erich in the film. Lance, real name William Kevin Von, was billed as the son of Fritz's brother, Waldo, but in reality, neither he nor Waldo were related to the Von Erichs. So that's interesting. This is his first role. And if you ask me, I mean, he is a wrestler, so it makes sense he got cast in this role. Everybody has to start somewhere. I think MJF could potentially cross over to Hollywood. He certainly has the talent. You know, I mean, look at The Rock. The Rock went from being the Scorpion King over 20 years ago to where he is, to being Black Adam. Look at John Cena. He was the Marine. Now he's the Peacemaker. So whether this role that he's being cast in is a prominent role or not remains to be seen. But I do think that it'll slowly open the doors from MJF. He's probably not gonna win an Oscar anytime soon. But like I said, everybody has to start somewhere. So very interesting. That congrats to MJF for getting that role. I forgot to mention Dave Bautista too. Like, look at how he started. Look how far he's come too. Like, he's the Drax the Destroyer. He was a villain in James Bond. So yeah, come a long, long way, honestly. But you know what? You could thank The Rock for that. I feel like The Rock opened the door for wrestlers to become actors. I know Hulk Hogan tried back in the day, but he didn't experience the same success as The Rock. So I just wanted to make that. He says he goes on to say he can also wave the flag of pro wrestling and bring it back to as something everyone is talking about, which is, I find it ironic that there's so many, like, I don't want to, how can I say this? Like, people know of wrestling, but yet don't watch The Miz also. The Miz in his movies. Oh yeah, The Miz, because he was a reality TV star. Like, you have heels, which people watch, but yet don't watch pro wrestling. You have movies like The Wrestler, which was a huge hit, but yet people still don't respect pro wrestling. So it's interesting that is. So he says he's gotten the spotlight stolen from him since he first stepped foot in AEW. He says his first singles pay-per-view match the spotlight was on a neck tattoo, referring to Cody Rhodes' neck tattoo. His first ever world title shot was against Jon Moxley, yet the spotlight was on Matt Hardy. He took a fall like Humpty Dumpty, referring to the incident where Matt Hardy, he fell and his head hit the concrete. Why he was allowed to continue that match is beyond me, but he says the first ever blood and guts match, while MJF was standing at the top of the cage, the spotlight was on Jericho. So referring to the fact that when Jericho fell, you could see all the boxes and I just remember that, like, people were talking about how, like, talking all about that incident with the boxes, and still talking about MJF. So he says, and referring to Chris Jericho, he says that he stole the spotlight from him for a full calendar year. And his biggest return, the spotlight, was on a press conference, referring to the incident with CM Punk at the All Out media scrum, where pretty much CM Punk went off on everybody. He called out the Elite, Hangman Adam Page. So that's what, but in retrospect, that's MJF's karma, because when Wardlow won the TNT title, MJF stole the spotlight from Wardlow because the only thing people could talk about was MJF. So he goes on to say that he's done waiting for the spotlight. He will take it. and at a Full Gear, the devil gets his due. So that's a very good promo by MJF. I actually really liked it. MJF is so good at cutting these promos, like these very heartfelt, emotional promos. That was very heartfelt. I actually really enjoyed that promo. And honestly, MJF has to take it. If he doesn't take it, like, then all of this was for nothing. So as much as I like Jon Moxley, MJF has to beat him at Full Gear. So then we get a Stokely Hathaway segment, and he basically let me see. Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred back in the day was epic. It was even became a storyline in WWF where Zeus wrestled matches at SummerSlam 89 and Survivor Series 89. That was before my time. So he's talking about how someone forgot where they came from, referring to MJF. He thought he would be by his best friend's side, and the worst crime he can commit is dick riding without a license, accusing MJF of riding Jon Moxley's dick. So, and I honestly think maybe MJF is tricking us all. I heard No Sparks is very terrible. That's what I heard too. Have you reviewed that? So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I still think MJF knew that the firm was going to attack Jon Moxley, and he's trying to like act like he had no idea what he's talking about. So we get the first round match eliminator. We get the first round match in the Eliminator tournament. It was All Ego Ethan Page versus Eddie Kingston. So before I talk about this match, we actually got some news during this match. If you guys paid attention during commentary revealing that AEW is going to the UK for the first time ever in 2023. And next week, they were announced that AEW is going to the two biggest markets on the West Coast. Now, a while ago, it was reported by Fightful Select that the rumored location to AEW Revolution was the Cow Palace in San Francisco, California. AEW has yet to go to the Bay Area. So I'm very curious to see what the other market would be in the West Coast. Probably, I'm thinking it would be the Bay Area and maybe Sacramento. I don't know, but I'm very curious to see what it is. But awesome news that AEW is going to the UK. I've never been to the UK. It would be really fun to go to the UK. Hey, maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll skip. I do want to go to Grand Slam though. It's one of those 80 guilty pleasure movies that is bad, but so over the top cheesy. It's awesome. Oh wow. So we'll see. But I'm sure next week is a cannot miss. So Ethan Page begins this match with a kick to Eddie Kingston. Now, Eddie Kingston does suplex Ethan Page. Of course, Stokely distracted the ref so that Page can tap. Like Eddie Kingston had Ethan Page in the hold, and so Stokely Hathaway was distracting the ref so that Ethan Page can tap out. We need another show here soon. Not just always for Grand Slam. Maybe. That would be interesting. So, like, Ortiz sees this, and he just, like, chases Stokely away. Ethan Page with an avalanche all ego, and he drops Eddie Kingston. So, Ethan Page won this match. So, I honestly I'm pulling for Ethan Page to win this. He has yet to challenge for the world title, and he has yet to win gold in AEW. It was a crime that he and Scorpio Sky did not win the tag titles when they were America's top team. So, but who are you guys rooting for in the Eliminator tournament, though? Let me know in the comments or in the live chat if you're watching this live. You get a quick backstage segment with Dark Order and Rush, Rush is going to be... It's going to be Rush versus Bandito at Rampage on Friday, which is going to be a really good match. So basically, Rush wants 10 presents during the match, and he says he's going to give Rush the first title shot, assuming he wins this tournament. So they're still feuding with that. I haven't heard any updates on Andrade. I don't know if Andrade is coming back or when he's coming back. I just haven't heard anything. Or read anything, I should say. So then we get a TNT Championship Open Challenge. I didn't even know we were getting this. But Ari Daivari offering Wardlow the Butler in exchange for the TNT title. I don't want to say this is a squash match, but I felt like that's pretty much what it was. I mean, Wardlow, was there any question that Wardlow was going to lose this? No. So Wardlow with a headbutt and 4 powerbomb symphonies to Daivari. Of course, Wardlow wins. Afterwards, he calls out Powerhouse Hobbs, who he calls a suitable opponent for his title. And this is the TNT title belongs to Wardlow. Now, and he says he's going to take every title in the company. So, of course, Samoa Joe was out here with Wardlow. And Samoa Joe hitting Wardlow in the back of the head with the belt. And he put Wardlow to sleep. So, if you guys have been paying attention, Wardlow is kind of, I guess you could tell, how can I say this? Like, Wardlow pushed Samoa Joe out of the way when he was confronting Hobbs. And then on Rampage, he pretty much cut off Samoa Joe from talking. So this is probably Samoa Joe is not dealing with Wardlow's crap anymore. And Powerhouse Hobbs told Samoa Joe, I'll still kick your ass. Wardlow and the TNT Championship need to be booked better. This booking is terrible. Yeah, I do agree. I have not liked Wardlow's booking for the TNT title. I feel like he's just there with the title. So, I mean, unless you're going to do like a triple threat, like Wardlow versus, not a triple threat, a 3-way, my bad. Wardlow versus Samoa Joe versus Powerhouse Hobbs, then that would be cool. But I just have not been a big fan of Wardlow's booking with the TNT title. How did we get this open challenge? Like, where did this open challenge come from? That's what I want to know, because I don't recall hearing about this last week. And I watched Dynamite and Rampage. I did catch up on Rampage. So next we get Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D, and Saraya face to face. So I actually really, really like this promo. This was a really good promo. I especially love the emotion that poured out of Saraya for this. Okay, so Saraya starts talking about how she took a couple of tests weeks ago. And unfortunately for Britt, she is 100% clear to wrestle. And so this, obviously, the crowd loves this. And so Britt says that there's nothing more fickle than an AEW fan. And that she built AEW from the ground up until it became a fortress where wrestlers, if she corrects herself, superstars like her wanted to move in. And she says she calls it her house, but she doesn't recall Saraya laying a single brick. And she says that the reason why Saraya hates her is because she's everything that Saraya wanted to be. And that they don't take walk-ins, bitch, so make an appointment. So I actually really like that. I was like, oh. And she goes on to say that Saraya left her house and walked into hers. And now Saraya, she was filled with so emotion when she said this. She said that Britt was handed her position by Tony Khan, which I guess you can argue and say that that's true. I mean, Britt was the first woman signed to AEW. She's friends with the Elite. She's Adam Cole's girlfriend. So you can probably make that argument. And don't get me wrong, I like Britt Baker. She goes on to say that Britt has only been in this business for 3 years while she's been in the business for 17. She loves this business. She's wrestled from MSG to the O2 to the Tokyo Dome. She calls Britt an ungrateful bitch, and she says, Saraya says that she's been publicly humiliated. She's battled her drug addiction publicly, and that Britt has no idea what it takes to make it or what it means to be a star. I actually really loved this promo that she said that. And Saraya has gone through a lot. You know, she had that whole battle, like she said. Saraya being cleared to wrestle makes me very happy. Same here. I hope she stays safe and that she's, stays healthy to wrestle and she doesn't take any scary bumps. But she's right. She's been publicly humiliated. She had that whole relationship with Alberto Del Rio. And she hits the rampage. I don't know if they changed the name of the finisher, but she hits a rampage to Britt. And she basically says that this will be the biggest match of Britt Baker's career in the comeback of Saraya. So at Full Gear, we're going to get Saraya versus Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. Which, if you ask me, I'm actually looking forward to that match. I honestly cannot wait to see Saraya's first match back in over 5 years. I mean, this promo was amazing. Amazing. So, all right. I honestly feel like Saraya needs to beat Britt Baker, though. She needs to win. Then we get Trent Baretta versus Jay Lethal, which Jay Lethal attacks Trent before the start of the match, and then he just focuses on that leg and that knee of Trent. He did the my favorite spot in this match was when Danhausen, he stepped to Satnam Singh, he punched him in the groin, and then Satnam Singh just headbutts him. You know, Jay Lethal ends up winning this with a lethal injection. So I talk about what happened after was that Sanjay Dutt said that he promised a big surprise last week and he delivered. He said that, and it was Jeff Jarrett. It was Jeff Jarrett. And so Jeff Jarrett says, why is he here? He says, whenever a friend needs help. No, he says that he has known all the, how he starts to say how he knows all these men. He says he's known Jay Lethal since he oozed machismo, referring to his machismo gimmick in TNA, and became Grand Slam champion in Ring of Honor. He says Sanjay and him have taken over promotions all over the world. And then he takes a shot at Triple H and at Braun Strowman by referring to Braun Strowman as, referring to Sanjay Satnam Singh as, this ain't no make-believe monster who wears red skinny jeans and is produced by the Banana Nose Circus. So I have to say, at least Braun Strowman has shown us that he can wrestle. I don't think Satnam Singh has shown us that. I mean, he was supposed to have that match at All Out, but ended up being replaced by the Motor City Machine Gun. So we'll see how that turns out. Because so far, they've only used Satnam Singh as like a bodyguard, you know, for little spots here and there, but I haven't seen him wrestle a full match yet. So we have to wait and see if Satnam is actually any good of wrestling. Let me see. I feel like with her injuries and not being cleared by WWE, she missed out on not being fully part of the women's revolution. So many matches she missed out on having. Okay, so now that you mentioned this, I feel like she and AJ Lee do not get enough credit for what they did in WWE for the women's revolution. I feel like they credit the Bella Twins more than anything. But I feel like AJ Lee and Paige really were the beginnings, or I say the sprinkles of the women's revolution. And it's sad that they don't get the credit that they deserved. So we get a Jungle Boy Jack Perry promo, and he's basically saying that on Rampage, he's going to lay out a challenge. I wonder what kind of challenge that is. What do you guys think Jungle Boy's just going to lay out? We get a Jon Moxley promo, and he's basically talking about how when he was young, 25, 26, and he didn't have arthritis and could fully move around pretty good, that he thought he figured it all out. He thought he knew it all. He loved to talk trash and kept his mouth running. He says he wanted to be like Regal, feared and respected, wanted to be a real top guy in pro wrestling, and so to gain respect, he picked the fight with Regal. And it did not go well. He says that Regal tortured him and he pissed him off until he found where he was in the food chain. And one day he would get his revenge. And then he says that Regal told him one day, now the real work begins. And then he asked Regal, who does that remind him of? And he says it reminds him of MJF. He talks about when he first wrestled MJF in 2020, that MJF thought he had figured it all out and he thought it was his time. And I kind of did think it was MJF's time. I really liked his whole political campaign gimmick, or his hashtag we deserve better. And he was calling Jon Moxley Dictator Jonathan. I really, really liked that. And I thought it was his time, but I was wrong. It wasn't his time back then, but it's his time now. So Moxley says he beats the hell out of MJF and he let him know where he was in the pecking order. He says, who is MJF? Who exactly is MJF? He starts talking about how MJF wears the clothes his mom bought for him at JCPenney. He talks of a pro wrestler he wants to be. And MJF has no idea what it's like to have any weight on his back. He thinks it's amusing that MJF calls himself the devil because Moxley goes on to say that he's seen the devil. He's met the devil. He's looked him in the eyes. He says he's seen a lot of bad things, and MJF is not that at all. And that he wants MJF to reach his full potential someday. And everything MJF has done up to this point has been easy. So if you ask me, I'm actually really excited about MJF versus Jon Moxley. I think it's going to be a good match. And like, we're going to find out once and for all. Is MJF truly a babyface? Is he going to beat Moxley clean? Or does he have a trick up his sleeve? So next, I actually want to talk about the Elite vignette, because we actually got a vignette with the Elite. So a couple of interesting images. They played this vignette of the Elite, and they showed this image with these images of the Bucks with their friends. But look at who's in the pictures. You got Cody Rhodes when he had black hair, Cody Rhodes when he had blonde hair, Kevin Owens, or should I say Kevin Steen, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens again, and Adam Cole, baby. You also show this, which is like, if you guys know, this is like for Full Gear, and they have this clock with a midnight type, with the clock striking midnight. So they really show the Prudential Center too. Oh, let me go back to it also showed the Prudential Center, which is the site of Full Gear. So I honestly think the Elite returns at Full Gear. I honestly think they do. It would be interesting if they show up next week, which is the go home show to Full Gear, but we gotta wait and see. Everything is pointing to them showing up at Full Gear. So, well, what do you guys think? You guys think the Elite shows up next week, or you think they're showing up at Full Gear? So we got Jamie Hayter versus Sky Blue, which was not a bad match. I actually liked the match. Tony Storm accompanied Sky Blue. See, Britt grabbed Sky Blue's boot, which allowed... Actually, despite Britt grabbing Sky Blue's boot, Sky Blue still hit a dropkick to Jamie Hayter. She hit her with the cold red too, but in the end, Jamie Hayter hit the ripcord lariat, and she was victorious. So I actually cannot wait to see Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm. Then in the back, you got Lance Archer attacking Ricky Starks. He says he wanted to send a message to everybody. So our main event was a 2 out of 3 falls match. It was Sammy Guevara versus Bryan Danielson, and this was definitely worthy of the main event. This match was a really good match. I actually liked it. So Bryan Danielson had the advantage in the lead early on. Of course, Ty Mello got involved in this. And the reason why Bryan Danielson scored the first fall was because Ty Mello distracted Bryan Danielson, and Sammy Guevara threw a chair in his face, which caused Sammy Guevara to get DQ'd. And so Bryan Danielson got the first fall. And Bryan Danielson, as a result of that, got busted open. Sammy Guevara was jamming a mic in his eye. Then he hit the GTH to Bryan, and Sammy Guevara scored the second fall. So it all came down to the last fall, because they were 1 each. We also found out, before I continue or go any further, we also found out that it's going to be Sting and Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett at Full Gear. Now, you had Bryan Danielson doing the crowd. No, actually, you had headbutt. You had Bryan giving Sammy Guevara headbutts, which was followed up by a knee. The ref ejecting Ty Mello. Oh, I think Bryan might have had a broken nose. They said that he was bleeding from the nose too. Sky Blue was awesome. She needs to be featured more. Yeah, she does. I really, really like that shooting star press that Sammy Guevara did to Bryan Danielson. He almost hit the floor. That cutter to armbar counter that Bryan Danielson did was fantastic. That reverse Hurricanrana was also a really good spot. The psycho knee to Boston leg crab counter by Sammy Guevara, amazing there too. But it took another psycho knee and a backflip, and it took another psycho knee and then elbows to Sammy, followed by the label lock to get Bryan Danielson the victory here. Now I have to say, Sammy Guevara did not tap out; he passed out. So this was a really great main event, and Bryan Danielson taking out all his frustrations on poor Sammy Guevara. But overall, I actually really liked tonight's Dynamite. Really, I did. The other matches were good. Except for the TNT match. That one wasn't a big fan of that match, but I get why it was done. It was done to get Samoa Joe to turn on Wardlow. But I thought tonight's show was a really great show. It really was. It wasn't. If it wasn't for that match alone, I'd give it this a Sean Spears perfect 10. But I wasn't a huge fan of that match, so I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. But what about you guys? What did you guys think of this Dynamite? But all right. So with that being said, that concludes this review, you guys. If you guys haven't done so, I did do an unboxing of the Lord Zed Lightning Collection helmet. I've previously done the Yellow Power Morpher helmet, and next week I should be doing an unboxing of the Lord Draken helmet. And with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. For the continued support, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I'll see you guys Friday after AEW Rampage. Oh, give me 1 second. Bye.